My friend, let me ask you something right at the start. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night rushing to the bathroom again and again and wondered, why can't I just sleep like I used to? Or maybe during the day you've noticed that the flow isn't quite as strong, or you feel like you're never fully emptying your bladder. These little annoyances creep up slowly, and for men over 60, they're often brushed off as just part of getting older. But what if I told you that one single everyday habit could be making your prostate grow larger than it needs to? And what if breaking this habit could ease many of those frustrating symptoms? That's exactly what we're going to uncover together in this video, because the topic today is over 60, one worst habit that makes your prostate grow. Stop it now. Elderly advice. Now, I want to share a story with you about someone I'll call Harold. Harold is 67, a retired teacher who came to see me because he was tired of his nights being disrupted. Every 2 hours he was up again, and he'd stand there half asleep waiting for his bladder to cooperate. He was embarrassed, frustrated, and frankly worried. He thought something was seriously wrong. When I asked him about his daily routines, there was one habit that jumped out immediately. And once he made a change, the difference was almost unbelievable. I'll get to that in a moment, but first, let me introduce myself properly. My name is Dr. Nolan Easton, and I've been working in men's health for over 30 years. I've walked this road with thousands of men, fathers, grandfathers, husbands, and brothers, who've come into my office, often quietly, sometimes even sheepishly, to talk about their prostate. And I can tell you this: your prostate health is not just about comfort in the bathroom. It's about your confidence, your sleep, your relationships, and your overall quality of life. That's why I want you to stick with me, because if you understand this one simple but damaging habit, you can take back more control than you realize. So let's go back to Harold for a moment. When we started digging into his lifestyle, we talked about diet, exercise, stress, and hydration. But there was one thing that kept standing out. He had a habit of drinking several cups of coffee and sweetened tea throughout the day, right into the evening. He thought it was harmless. But what many men don't realize is that caffeine, sugar, and even late-night fluids can act like gasoline on a fire when it comes to your prostate. They irritate the bladder, increase urgency, and over time, they can contribute to the swelling of that small gland sitting just under your bladder. Now, the prostate itself is a walnut-sized organ. Small, but boy, does it play a big role in your life. As men age, the prostate tends to enlarge naturally, but the rate and severity of that growth are heavily influenced by your habits. And here's the key. The worst habit that accelerates that growth isn't just about what you eat or drink, it's about what you repeat, day after day, without realizing the strain it's putting on your body. Before I dive deeper, let me pause and ask you for a small favor. If this message already feels like it's speaking to your life, I'd love for you to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. And go ahead and tap the bell icon too, so you don't miss any of my advice. It really does help us reach more men like you. And here's something I ask every viewer. Drop a simple yes or no in the comments below. Do you feel like your prostate symptoms are affecting your daily life right now? I personally look at those comments because they help me shape what I talk about in future videos, and I want this to serve you directly. Now, back to Harold. When we started digging into his lifestyle, we talked about diet, exercise, stress, and hydration. But there was one thing that kept standing out. He had a habit of drinking several cups of coffee and sweetened tea throughout the day, right into the evening. He thought it was harmless. But what many men don't realize is that caffeine, sugar, and even late-night fluids can act like gasoline on a fire when it comes to your prostate. They irritate the bladder, increase urgency, and over time, they can contribute to the swelling of that small gland sitting just under your bladder. Now, the prostate itself is a walnut-sized organ. Small, but boy, does it play a big role in your life. As men age, the prostate tends to enlarge naturally, but the rate and severity of that growth are heavily influenced by your habits. And here's the key. The worst habit that accelerates that growth isn't just about what you eat or drink, It's about what you repeat day after day without realizing the strain it's putting on your body. Before I dive deeper, let me pause and ask you for a small favor. If this message already feels like it's speaking to your life, I'd love for you to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. And go ahead and tap the bell icon too so you don't miss any of my advice. It really does help us reach more men like you. And here's something I ask every viewer. Drop a simple yes or no in the comments below. Do you feel like your prostate symptoms are affecting your daily life right now? I personally look at those comments because they help me shape what I talk about in future videos, and I want this to serve you directly. Now, back to Harold. Once he cut down his late afternoon and evening caffeine and switched to water earlier in the day, something started to change. Within a couple of weeks, he was sleeping longer stretches at night. He wasn't straining as much. His mood lifted simply because he wasn't so exhausted. And the best part? He realized he didn't have to live with those constant interruptions. That's the transformation I want for you. But let's step back and understand why this habit is so damaging. The prostate sits right at the junction where the bladder meets the urethra, the tube that carries urine out of your body. When the prostate grows, it squeezes that tube like a kink in a garden hose. Now, every extra irritant you put into your system, whether that's caffeine, alcohol, or even late-night fluids, stimulates the bladder, makes it more reactive, and increases inflammation in the prostate tissue. That irritation is like telling your prostate, hey, swell up even more, and it does. That's why one of the worst habits isn't just what you drink, but when and how much. For many men, the pattern looks like this: a pot of coffee in the morning, soda or sweetened tea in the afternoon, maybe a beer or two with dinner, and then a big glass of water before bed because they're worried about dehydration. On the surface, none of that seems catastrophic, but in practice, it keeps the bladder and prostate on high alert around the clock. That constant stimulation is what pushes the gland to swell more quickly, creating a cycle of urgency, poor flow, and endless bathroom trips. I've had men tell me they thought their only option was medication or surgery. But the truth is, small shifts in your daily habits can create dramatic improvements. When Harold realized this, he told me, "Dr. Easton, I feel like I've got my nights back." That right there is why I do what I do, because no man should feel like his golden years are being stolen by something so manageable. Now, I want you to imagine this. Waking up in the morning after a solid night's rest, not dragging yourself to the bathroom half a dozen times, not feeling embarrassed when you're out with friends because you keep disappearing, not dreading long car rides or flights. That freedom is possible, and it starts with paying attention to the very habits that seem small but add up in powerful ways. The truth is, our bodies after 60 don't bounce back as quickly as they did at 30 or 40. That means every habit we carry matters more. The wrong ones can accelerate decline, but the right ones can give us more energy, better health, and yes, a calmer, more cooperative prostate. I'll tell you, after decades in this field, I've seen men in their 70s and 80s feel better than they did at 60 once they made these adjustments. And that should give you hope, because it's never too late to turn things around. And here's the best part of this story. Harold didn't need a prescription to start feeling relief. He needed awareness. He needed to recognize that his daily habit was fueling his problem. Once he saw it and chose differently, his body responded. That's empowering, isn't it? To know that you can play an active role in your own healing simply by identifying and removing one harmful routine? So let me leave you with this thought. The worst habit for your prostate isn't some rare medical mystery. It's right there in your day, hiding in plain sight. And once you shine a light on it, you can take steps to ease your symptoms, improve your sleep, and regain that steady flow and comfort you deserve. When Harold first realized that something as simple as his daily routine was driving his prostate issues, he had the same reaction that I've seen in countless men over the years. He said, "Dr. Easton, are you telling me this whole problem is because of what I'm doing every day and not just my age?" And I looked him straight in the eye and said, "That's exactly what I'm telling you.
Because while aging plays a role, it's the little choices we repeat over and over that determine whether our prostate stays manageable or whether it grows until it takes over your life. Now, let me be clear. When I talk about the worst habit that makes your prostate grow, I'm not saying there's just one food, drink, or behavior that magically flips a switch. No, it's a pattern, a rhythm of daily living that either calms your body or agitates it. For most men, that habit looks like overloading their body with irritants, caffeine, sugar, even late-night fluids, without giving their system the rest and balance it needs. It's not just one cup of coffee, it's the steady drip of stimulation and strain that wears your prostate down. Think of it like this. Imagine your prostate as a sponge. A sponge swells when it soaks up liquid. Now picture pouring irritants onto that sponge every single.
When I think back to men like Harold, Robert, and Sam, what strikes me most is how quickly their lives improved once they took that first step. None of them believed at first that a simple daily habit could have such a powerful grip on their prostate health. They assumed it was just getting old, that their body was out of their control. And I can't tell you how many men sit across from me with that same look in their eyes, half defeated, half desperate. But once they understand, once they make the connection, their whole outlook changes. You see, the prostate is a sensitive organ. It responds not only to aging, but to stress, diet, hydration, and even sleep. That's why I call these habits hidden accelerators. They're the everyday things that push your prostate to grow faster, inflame more, and disrupt your life. And the worst habit, the one I've been guiding you to notice, is ignoring the signals your body is giving you. Because the truth is, your body has been whispering to you for years. You just may not have been listening. Let me share a story about Charles, a 69-year-old retired pilot. Charles loved his evening scotch. Every night, like clockwork, he'd pour himself 2 glasses, sit back, and tell himself it was his way of winding down. But he was also waking up 5 or 6 times at night, barely able to fall back asleep. His bladder felt like it had a mind of its own. When he came to me, he said, "Doc, I'm exhausted, but I don't want to give up the one thing I enjoy." That's a common feeling. Nobody wants to feel like they're losing their pleasures. So I didn't tell Charles to give it all up. Instead, I suggested he cut back gradually, replacing his second glass with sparkling water and a slice of lime. Within 3 weeks, his nights were noticeably better. Within 2 months, he was down to waking just twice a night, and his flow was steadier. He admitted to me, "Doc, I didn't think this small change would matter, but it's like my prostate calmed down." That's the power of shifting away from irritation and toward balance. And I want to pause right here to talk directly to you. If you're over 60 and you've been telling yourself, "This is just the way it is," I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be. Your prostate isn't your enemy. It's simply reacting to how you treat your body. The sooner you stop feeding the irritation, the sooner you'll start noticing relief. And I'd love to hear from you. Has this message spoken to your own situation? Leave a quick yes or no in the comments below. I personally read those because I want to know what's helping and what struggles you're facing. And if you haven't already, please hit the like button, subscribe, and tap that bell icon. That way, you'll always know when I share new advice, and together we can keep building this community of men supporting men, just like you. Now, let's return to the science, but in simple terms. Imagine your bladder and prostate as partners in a dance. When the prostate swells, the bladder has to work harder, straining against the pressure. That's why you feel urgency, frequency, and sometimes even leakage. The worst habit, whether it's late-night caffeine, excess alcohol, or ignoring hydration during the day and overcompensating at night, throws this dance completely off balance. The bladder gets jumpy, the prostate inflames, and the cycle continues. But here's something hopeful. Your body can reset. When you remove the irritants, your bladder relaxes and your prostate is no longer under constant attack. That doesn't mean the gland shrinks back to the size it was at 25, but it does mean you feel fewer symptoms. That's what Harold, Robert, Sam, and Charles all discovered.
Their prostates didn't magically shrink overnight, but the irritability and swelling calmed down, and that made a world of difference. I remember Charles telling me, "Doc, I feel like I'm living again." That's a powerful statement. Think about it. How many moments of life do we lose to something as frustrating as constant bathroom trips? How many conversations are interrupted? How many nights are broken? How many relationships strained? All because of one habit we don't even realize is hurting us. And let me tell you, it's not just about comfort. It's about dignity. It's about being able to enjoy your evenings with your spouse without disappearing every half hour. It's about taking your grandchildren to the park without scanning for the nearest restroom. It's about sitting on a plane, a bus, or even in church without anxiety. These are the real victories that matter at this stage of life. Another patient of mine, Lionel, he was 74. He told me he stopped traveling because he was too embarrassed. His wife wanted to visit family across the country, but he dreaded the long flight. We worked together on cutting out his evening sodas, reducing alcohol, and making sure he hydrated earlier in the day instead of right before bed. Within a few months, Lionel was back on a plane. He called me afterwards and said, "Dr. Aston, I made it through the whole flight without panic. You gave me back my freedom." And that's exactly what this is about, freedom. And I want you to hold on to that thought, because it's easy to focus on the discomfort and forget the bigger picture. But the truth is, the changes you make now can restore your confidence, your peace of mind, and your freedom to live without being chained to a bathroom schedule. And let's not overlook something important. Your partner, your family, your friends, they want you present. They want to enjoy time with you, not watch you struggle or slip away into the restroom every few minutes. By breaking this worst habit, you're not just helping yourself, you're improving your relationships. I've seen marriages brighten, friendships deepen, and confidence return, all from something as simple as shifting daily habits. So let me ask you directly, are you willing to listen to what your body is telling you? Because the worst habit isn't just what goes into your body, it's the message your body is sending you back. If you keep pushing through, dismissing those signals, the problem grows. But if you pause, listen, and adjust, your body responds with relief. Harold did. Robert did. Sam did. Charles and Lionel did. And you can too. Each of them thought it was too late. Each of them thought they'd just have to live with it. But they took one step, and that step led to real change. That's the gift I want you to take from their stories. Now, imagine this. You wake up in the morning after 7 solid hours of sleep. You stretch, you smile, and you realize you only got up once during the night, maybe not at all. You pour yourself a cup of coffee, just one, and enjoy it fully because you know it won't wreck your night. You go for a walk, you spend time with your loved ones, and you feel at ease, not anxious. That's the picture of what your life can look like when you stop feeding your prostate's growth with the wrong habits. And friend, you deserve that. You've worked hard your whole life. You've carried responsibilities, supported your family, built your life. Now in this season, you deserve rest, comfort, and freedom. Don't let a swollen prostate steal that from you. Don't let one worst habit keep you chained. So as we continue, remember this. Your prostate story isn't just about biology, it's about choice. And the choices you make starting today can write a new chapter of freedom and relief. When Lionel told me he finally got on that plane and made it through without panic, he wasn't just sharing a victory over his prostate symptoms. He was sharing a victory over fear, over embarrassment, over the sense that his life was shrinking. That's what breaking the worst habit can do. It doesn't just ease your body, it restores your spirit. And I want you to hold that truth close, because if you've been struggling with this, you deserve to know there is light on the other side. You see, the habit that drives prostate growth and irritation is more than just a cup of coffee or a nightly drink. It's the mindset that says, this is harmless, this doesn't matter, this is just the way it is. That mindset keeps you trapped. But once you challenge it, once you take ownership of what you're doing daily, your body begins to thank you. And I've seen it time and again. The men who listen, who adjust, who give themselves the gift of awareness are the ones who reclaim their lives. Take Richard, for example. At 70, he was convinced he was heading for surgery. His nights were miserable, his flow was weak, and he was embarrassed even to talk about it. But when we reviewed his habits, there it was again. Late-night coffee, sugary snacks, and little attention to hydration during the day and overcompensating at night. He was stuck in the cycle so many men fall into. But once he shifted, once he cut the late-night sugar and stuck to water earlier in the day, something changed. Slowly at first, but then noticeably, his nights became quieter. His confidence grew. And when he came back to me, he said, "Doc, I feel like I'm living again." Now, I want to pause for just a moment to speak directly to you again. If you've been following along and these stories sound like your own, let me know in the comments below. A simple yes if you're struggling, a no if you're not right now. I do read those, and it helps me know what's helping and what struggles you're facing. And while you're here, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and tap that bell icon. That way you'll always know when I share new advice, and together we can keep building this community of men supporting men, just like you. Now, let's circle back to what this really means for your life. Because this isn't just about fewer trips to the bathroom, it's about sleep. And good sleep means better memory, better mood, stronger immunity, and more energy for the things you love. It's about confidence. Not worrying about embarrassing moments, not feeling chained to the nearest restroom. And it's about freedom. Freedom to travel, to spend time with loved ones, to enjoy your golden years without feeling like your body is holding you hostage. When I think about Harold, Robert, Sam, Charles, Lionel, and Richard, I don't just see men who manage